Good afternoon and welcome to the Wednesday, July the 2nd, Parks and Recreation Commission meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and first on the agenda is the prayer and pledge, and we'd like to ask Mr. Ricky Turner to offer the prayer and pledge.
Let us pray. To our God and our Heavenly Father, we're so thankful for this day and for all your many blessings. As we come at this time to talk about things to improve our city's park and rec, we pray for the commissions, those who work for the parks and city, this great city of Murfreesboro that we stay in. Bless us as we approach this upcoming 4th of July holiday weekend, all those who are traveling, all those who will be participating in the upcoming 4th of July events. We pray that no hurt, harm, or danger will come upon anyone, those who are traveling the highways and byways. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, welcome. Mr. Jernigan, our normal chair, is out on vacation, and Mr. Miller is homesick today. So the first order of business will be to nominate a chair for today's meeting. And so we'd like to take nominations from the commission so we could have a chair.
I'd like to nominate Councilman Eddie Smotherman, if he would grace us with sitting right here.
All right, other nominations?
I second that nomination.
Okay, we have a nomination, a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Eddie?
Okie dokie. Well, welcome everyone to the Murfreesboro Parks and Recreation meeting. Didn't know I was going to be chairman, but now I am. We've got the pledge and the prayer out of the way. First item on the agenda will be the considering for the approval of the minutes for the June 4th meeting for the Murfreesboro Parks and Recreation Commission. Hopefully everybody's read over the minutes, and does anybody have any corrections or additions or deletions that we need to do? And if not, then we'll certainly entertain a motion.
I have one correction. Dr. Gloria Bonner is listed as absent. I believe she was here.
Yes, he was here.
Okay, we'll have that corrected in the minutes. Is there any other thing that needs to be changed? If not, then would anyone like to make a motion?
If no other correction, I move that we accept the minutes with the one correction.
Second that motion.
We've got a motion and a second. All in favor, signal so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. The next item of business is under new business, update the Old Fort Park Indoor Tennis Complex.
Yes, Mr. Chair and members of the commission, I wanted to update the commission on the indoor tennis project and where we stand at this particular point. On May the 28th, we did open bids for the indoor tennis. We had 6 bidders. Hardcastle Construction out of Nashville was the apparent low bidder. Their bid was $6,049,990, which really was above the revenues that we had for the project. We asked Mr. Chris Camp from Lowson Associates to meet with Hardcastle to see if they could value engineer the project. They were able to reduce the project by 10%, which brought us into budget. Last Thursday night, that was presented to the Murfreesboro City Council. Council did approve the project with a construction cost for the project of $5,444,991. And I've listed the different revenues sources here. I think the significant thing, and probably things that people will ask you as commission members, when will it open? What's the date? The substantial completion date that we have in the contract is December the 31st, 2014, which is the last day of this year. We hope that we have MTSU in there playing in January. That means substantial completion means that it is substantially complete to the point that we can use the facility, but they haven't finished their punch list. The final completion is listed as January the 30th, 2015. And so we look to open sometime February, mid-February probably, of 2015, if everything goes good. We do have a short presentation we wanted to show you. It starts by showing you the floor plan of the facility, shows the 8 courts, and in the middle is the locker rooms, dressing rooms, training rooms. On the front of the facility, which is at the lower portion of the page, you can see where you come into the facility. That's actually the front of the facility. And just to the, I guess on the right side, in the lower right-hand corner, are new restrooms that are going to replace the old cinder block restrooms that most people knew as the horse show restrooms out at Old Fort Park. But this facility is going to go essentially right where the Ag Center sat. Think of the Ag Center being about 11,000 square feet. This building will be over 70,000 square feet. So that kind of gives you an idea of size of the facility. Next slide, please. Next slide shows that it does have 2 floors. It has a mezzanine in the upper floor. That way you'll be able to view. We'll have bleachers there. We'll have some tables and chairs. You'll be able to view tennis from the ends, which is the preferred place to view tennis. If you're a tennis buff, you can see that. Also, on the excuse me, the lower right-hand side, you can see that there's an awning there. When we built the new 16 courts, we went in and used the old ag cattle barn, graveled the base of it, and we used it for special events, and it was highly used. That was one of the things that the Murfreesboro Tennis Association and other groups that used it said we really need some kind of shade area or some kind of covered area so we can have our special events. So we added an awning. You'll actually see a rendering of that in just a minute. But that's a significant piece that will play a coordination between the indoor courts and the outdoor courts. Next slide. These are elevations. The top one is the back of the facility. The next one is the front of the facility. The third one is the elevation that will be facing the 16 outdoor courts, and then the lower elevation is the one that will be facing Old Fort Parkway. This is an overhead of the site plan. You can see how it fits adjacent to the 16 courts, and you can see the additional parking and just right across the street. You really can't see that, but that's the old 8 courts over there. So we'll be making connections to the other 8 courts across the street as well. Next slide. This is an aerial view, actually looking from an Old Fort Parkway standpoint. Kind of gives you a perspective of how that building is going to fit in there. We've got it highly landscaped, putting in some bigger trees to block the effect. This is going to be a very big building. We want it to look really good in the park. So we've added some pretty extensive landscaping, and then we're introducing some stormwater quality measures as well. And you can see that the drive going around the parking lot, all of that is shown really kind of in brown because that's going to all be pavers. So we're going to introduce some other stormwater measures. And if you remember, we've got the stormwater demonstration site there in Old Fort Park. So this will add to what we can interpret for stormwater at that site. Next. This would be a view driving into the facility from the lower, I guess, the drive-in closest to Old Fort Parkway. The next one is coming in from the other direction. So you start to get a feeling of what the new indoor tennis facility is going to look at by looking at these slides. Next slide. This is a view if you were looking from the existing 16 courts. We still call them new. They're 5 years old, but we call them new courts. And this is the awning that I was talking about that we put on the side of the building between the 16 courts and the building. And that will serve as our shade structure during tournaments. It'll give us places to stage, to do other things. But that's going to be a very useful area right there. Next one. This view is coming, if you're looking straight down that hallway, you'll be coming out of the indoor facility, walking past the new restrooms and to the outdoor courts. So that gives you an idea of what this facility is going to look like when built out, and of course, when the trees get mature as well. And with that, I'll be glad to answer any questions the commission would have relative to the indoor courts. The agreement, we redid the agreement with MTSU. We really want to express our appreciation to MTSU and all the partnerships that they have through their foundation, folks within the community that's made donations. They pledged $1.7 million to this project, and there's a lot of faces connected to that $1.7 million. So we think it's going to be a real exciting addition to the department and to the city. I know we've already gotten contacts from USTA and a lot of other groups talking about regional, national, state, all kinds of tournaments. MTSU, they've already said, when are you going to have it finished, because we think we can get a tournament in here at a certain time. So we think it's going to be a real plus for us. Any questions you may have?
Yes, Mr. Goodwin. How much of this facility do you think would be used as far as, I guess, private, MTSU, and residential?
MTSU, the way we have it in the agreement, Mr. Turner, is they've got a prime season that will give them priority usage. And that priority usage really begins at 1 p.m. in the afternoon and goes till 4, which is really, if you look at recreational facilities, is, I would say, probably the downtime a lot of times when you look at recreational facilities. So they're really coming in and filling a point that's difficult for us to fill. And that'll be their prime season really runs. Their practice starts in October, the end of October, and they'll practice in October, November, some in December, not much. Their games, matches begin January, February, and then when they go into tournaments, they'll play some into March. But it'll be during that really 1 to 4 time, and then most of their matches will be during that particular time. It may extend to 5, but that still gives us prime time. Prime time for public is generally in the morning. We're going to be open 104 hours a week is our plan. So the prime time will really be from 6 to really 12 in the morning, and then from that 4 until 9 at night. So we'll still have that.
Will there be a cost for the...
There will be, and I'll be bringing those back to the commission for consideration when we work out. We're working right now on our business plan.
Okay.
We've got that in draft form. We'll be placing some fees, and we're doing research looking at what fees are normally in this particular area and what they are in the region, what is, I guess, what is an acceptable amount and for different levels, for family, individuals, etc.
Okay.
Okay? Any other questions? Good questions.
Lanny, I just want to thank you for your ability to work with MTSU, and the cooperation that I've seen between the city and MTSU as well has been phenomenal. Certainly, it looks like with the plan that you've presented, you've taken a lot of things in consideration. I know we lost the shaded area that was there with the old, for lack of a better term, I guess it was a covered horse rink.
Well,
But,
it was a cattle barn. That's what it was.
A cattle barn. Well, but I know that area was used quite a bit for the shading of it, and with this landscaping that you're talking and softening the building to keep it from looking like just a factory along Old Fort Parkway, I think that's a wonderful plan. The ability to use it year-round with the AC system and the heating air system that we're going to have, I think it's going to be a tremendous asset, not only in the wintertime, but also in the summertime when we get into these type temperatures that we're having today. And certainly, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention the economic impact that the tournaments and things that will be taking place at this facility will have on our community. And so I thank you for the wonderful job that you've done of coordinating it to this point, and we appreciate it.
Well, and I'd also like to thank Mr. Alan Farley, who's worked really closely with me from MTSU, and Mr. Chris Passaro, who's worked with me and city manager and assistant city manager, getting it to the point we've gotten it. So there's been a lot of effort by a lot of folks to get this facility to where it's at, and it's going to take a really team effort to take it forward as well. But we're really excited about the project. Any other questions or comments?
If there are no other questions, I think the next item on the list is the soccer field usage and the Murfreesboro Soccer Club agreement. And Lanny, I think you'll be addressing this as well.
Yes, sir. Members of the commission, I've been meeting with the Murfreesboro Soccer Club, and of course, all of you know that we suffered some pretty severe winter kill on our soccer fields. Happy to report we sprigged those fields last week. We hope that they take. I went out there this morning and looked at them, and still got a lump in my throat. But Bermuda grass is amazing. It does grow in. But one of the things that the soccer club and the Parks Department has talked about is, in the perfect storm, I guess, and that I think that's really what we had this time, was the fact that we really didn't know the limits of where we could draw the line on usage of the facility. We know that we crossed that. We know that we had that coupled with severe weather. So, there's really nobody to blame. There's a lot to learn, I would say, in this particular situation. And that's the way our discussions went when we sat down and talked. The soccer club, Parks Department, I know the city, everyone involved wants the best for the facility and wants the facility to look the best it can look, because we do host some rather prestigious tournaments. You mentioned economic impact. They're a huge economic impact to our city. So what we've looked at, and we've got it in your packet, is field usage guidelines for Richard Siegel Park. Because soccer is a unique sport, and I know if we were having our meeting yesterday, Mr. Shirley, who is
I would not have been here.
would not have been here.
Unless I could have a live stream of a certain game.
But if you've seen the enthusiasm over the World Cup and all of the things that, every major city in the United States and even around the world, there's huge enthusiasm about soccer. And soccer's a growing sport. My understanding is our soccer league is the second largest in the state, and we continue to grow. And so how do we handle those growing pains? There's a point to where you have to get to and say, this is all this facility can handle. And we know that we may have exceeded that. We know that the groups, the soccer has grown, the number of teams have grown, the number of practices has grown, And we do play and practice on this facility. So if you think of recreational soccer, we have one game, one practice. So there's 2 times that field's being used by that one team. So practice doubles the usage of the field. With select teams, they will practice 2 to 3 times. So you triple or quadruple the number of times that field is used. You take into account that select teams play games that we call friendlies, and they invite other teams from other areas, and there could be several teams. And we sat down and put the calculation to that just with the select, with what we were doing, and it was over 700 games on that particular facility. So you have to start thinking, we've got to start looking at guidelines. We know we're a growing community. We know that, when we first went into it, we moved off the little site at McKnight Park, which they were busting at the seams when we were there. And we moved out, and we were thinking, are we going to grow into this facility? Well, we've not only grown into this facility, but we're almost growing out of this facility at this particular time. You think at Richard Siegel Park opened in 2005. It's 9 years old. Time has a way of passing very quickly. But we did sit down with the soccer league. We looked at that. We know that we have outside organizations that come to us, even other cities, that want to meet in the middle, somebody from the West Tennessee area, somebody from the East Tennessee area, that want to meet in the middle and play a state game. That's another layer on top of the friendlies. When you get in and you're state qualified, there's a certain amount of state games that are played at the facility as well. So we've got to work closely with the soccer league, and they're willing to work with us under the guidelines, and they agreed to the guidelines that we have here. And this is pretty much what we've had up until a couple of years ago. The other thing that we have done in the agreement is we've taken out for soccer club the usage of fields 8 and 9. When we first started, and what our standard is kind of across the board, is to have something that the public can use when they come out. For the last couple of years, we've let soccer kind of migrate into those because of the growth. And because of the increased practice, they've increased the number of practices that they offered to the children, because they started an academy there. And it's very successful. And what the soccer club is doing is pretty much in line with what's going on nationwide with the growth of all of the leagues. And you see these teams, Brentwood and Franklin, just join forces, so to speak. And you start seeing these super clubs, and it's just becoming a very competitive sport in the select world, I guess you would say. But anyway, one of the issues that we have identified is the fact that when public shows up at the park, if those fields are taken and we've got field, I'm just going to give you an example, 4 at rest, because we try to build in not only times for games and times for practice, but times for rest as well for the field, because you just got to do that. Public will go to those fields because they're open. They'll start playing on those fields. It's difficult to manage as a staff, difficult for the league to know whether the Parks Department said it was okay for them to play on those open fields. So doing this, it gives us a tool to help manage who is on those facilities and where to direct people when they go out to play pickup games in soccer. So in the draft agreement, that's really the big change, I guess you would say, taking out fields 8 and 9. And then we attach to that the field usage guidelines for Richard Siegel. And also, one of the things that we talked to the soccer club about, and that was doing an interim agreement that will start August the 15th, run through basically November, end around December the 1st, and for us to work together and see what we need to put in a longer-term agreement that we would start in January. And we'll be bringing that back to the commission and talking about that. Matter of fact, I want to bring back the other leagues as well, because I really think that not only do we need to look at soccer, we need to look at baseball, we need to look at softball, we need to look at other things, because they're doing the same thing. Mr. Smother remembers when we used to start baseball in May, and we played May and June. Kind of that was our
And that was
time.
the season.
And that was it. And in the fall, we played football, and then we go to basketball. Well, now you start baseball, they want to start in January. Matter of fact, they're signing up in January. They'll do their drafts in February, and last week in February, first week in March, they're practicing on the facilities. And they play not only a spring league, but they play a fall league as well. So I think we've got to look at those too. Now, the good thing about baseball and softball, not to say there's a bad thing about soccer, but soccer, all of that is played on grass. With baseball and softball, most of that's played on dirt. So it's easier to fix the dirt than it is to grow the grass back. So there's a lot of things that we have to consider, but I think that just speaks to the growth of our community. I know Dr. Gilbert, she gets to a point where she comes and she says, I have got to build another school. I have just absolutely got to build another school. And I think we've taken the approach that we just push these things as much as we can, and from a commission standpoint, we need to look at that. And we need to say, what is the maximum capacity? And it may be that we may have to establish some guidelines for the leagues that says this is your cutoff point. Because in tournaments, whether that's golf, tennis, whatever it is, there's a maximum number of teams that you can play in a set number of days between a set number of hours. So those are kind of things that we'll be bringing back to you. But fortunately, we're able to sit down. We've got a good soccer league. They're willing to do whatever is necessary to get us where we need to be. And so that's what I'm asking is to approve the tentative agreement that we have in here, along with the field usage guidelines for Richard Siegel Park. And I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Got the one, or first one, starting. So this draft is basically for the next 5 months.
Yes, sir.
And then we'll come back in January. The August 15th start date for the fall season's tough.
It is tough. Matter of fact, what we've talked about, Mr. Shirley, is we know that there's going to be some practices, et cetera. We told the soccer league we'd work with them. We'd try to find some alternative sites. We've got some green space at McKnight. We got some at Barfield. We got some at Old Fort. And they were also going to go look and see if they could find some particular green space. We used to do most of our practices at City School. Matter of fact,
That was going to be a follow-up question. Yeah.
the school grounds were really the Parks and Recreation's practice and sometimes game fields that made up for a lot of the fields that we
Is
have
that
today.
going forward? Because my history, I go back to playing at St. Rose when Murfreesboro Soccer Club used to be there. So when we moved to the McKnight Fields, that was some godsend. But our practices generally were off-site because there were goals out. Is that a thought process where that's at? We have the green space in front of Patterson, facility. I'm trying to remember the other ones. We've played at Bellwood. Those are all places that we practice, and our green spaces that are current. Is that an option to put goals there and groom those fields a little bit?
It's not too difficult to move goals to those particular spots and groom them. When you're doing foot skills, a few cones may
Right.
suffice for what you need for foot skills. So, and it may be that, we have to move people a little bit to where you've got a goal for one practice, you may have a green space for another, where you can just put out cones and do foot skills. But those are the kind of things that we've got to sit down with the soccer and make sure that we can cover that short interim as we give these fields time to grow in.
Is that also an option, though, not even just for fall of 2014, but going forward? Because a lot of our select program is very fortunate. We get to practice at Siegel Park, where a lot of clubs, you don't get to practice on those fields, and you have to find alternatives. And based on the usage, if that's an option, are there ways to incorporate other playing surfaces, locations off-site?
Honestly, Mr. Shirley, I think we're going to have to do that in the future if we have growth. Because like I said a while ago with the games, if you take practice off, you take half the practice off, take half the usage off for recreational soccer when you do that. You take off 2/3 of the usage with select when you do that. So that opens up opportunities for more games without impacting the facility. So I honestly, I think that's something we're going to have to look at in the future.
Coming in late, I kind of missed the update on the McKnight fields. They're in. They were beautiful when I played on them, and they're beautiful now. How long an option are those fields?
Unfortunately, it's like everything else. In the fall, those fields are pretty well occupied. We've got YMCA that plays on those. We have lacrosse in the spring. We have our football program with over 350 players. It's a well-used facility. And we know it's going to go away in the future when the airport expands, because we took it out almost 14 years ago from parks, and we've been using it because it's there. But we know the airport's going to expand. We know that other services are wanting to move in to be a part of the airport. So we've got to look at that. And then we've just completed a remaster plan of McKnight Park, which takes out Phil 8, which you're familiar with. And those are kind of things, and we've been talking about, buying additional parkland. So those are all the different pieces of, I guess, the jigsaw puzzle we're going to bring to the commission, and hope that, we can put them together and paint a great picture for the future for our parks.
Well, reading through, again, I think looking at it, I'm probably spend more time on Siegel Park fields than anybody else in this room, but it's a usage that has to, a usage agreement that has to be taken, because the fields were, it was not good. Where I reffed at Spring Fling, and I reffed the state tournament, the TSSA tournament as well, and in both situations they were not the Siegel Park that we have become accustomed to. And from a parent, from a coach, from a referee, all of those perspectives, I think that this usage guideline, while from a soccer aficionado, feels draconian, it feels heavy-handed in a sense, it's the right move, and it's the necessary move, and it's one that while the soccer players, the soccer community will feel bad, but they also will all appreciate it by the same token, because we tore up our fields, and they need a lot of TLC, a whole lot, because you were out there. I was out there Monday, and it makes you almost cry because
Sure does.
we
And there, Mr. Shirley, there may be other measures that we have to take to get them back into the condition. And generally, when they come out of this, they're tender. I mean, they're not tough like they've had a year to sit there and grow and mend and, you know, deep root grass and so forth. I mean, it takes a while. So this is something that's going to be ongoing for a couple of years till we find that right level. I'm just trying to back off a little right now with this. Thanks to the Murfreesboro Soccer for being a participating partner and wanting the best, putting us both on the same plane for future goal. So.
Well, I think it's clear after the hard winter that we just experienced and the damage that was done by that winter that we are at the point that we probably need to have this proposal and get this agreement in place. And do we need to make a motion?
I would like for the commission to approve this, yes.
Okay, so is there a motion for the proposal and agreement combined?
Yes.
Is that fine? So would someone like to make a friendly motion?
So moved.
Second. Excuse me, second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes.
Mr. Smotherman,
Yes, sir.
before we move forward, I did go ahead, just for the commission's information, and put in our tournament policy or field rental policies. That's something that I've directed our athletic division to look at. We're going to operate under our current policy, but because of where we're going, looking at usage, et cetera, that may be something that I'll bring back to you in the future to amend so that all of our policies parallel each other. Okay? So you can read over those. If you have any questions, feel free to give me a call.
Okay, thank you, Laney.
Thank you.
To all the soccer coaches, after watching 90 minutes of scoreless ball yesterday, I think I would encourage working on offense. The next thing on the agenda is the grand reopening of the McFadden Community Center, and I believe Gary Arbit's here to explain to us the event and what's going to take place.
I am. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. I would come before you today to invite everyone to our grand opening of the McFadden Community Center, built in 1968. It's always been in our hearts, but now it's bigger, better, improved. That's going to be on Tuesday, July the 15th. It'll start at 4:30, and then the festivities will start at 5, and we are having a dunking booth. So I do have a sign-up sheet for anyone that's interested. You can call my office, and I will be glad to give you a 15-minute time slot. No one seems to be making eye contact. That's okay. I'm sure Mitzi can get me your numbers, and I'll be calling you. But we'll also have hot dogs, popcorn. We're going to have a T-shirt walk, which is basically a cake walk. We'll have, of course, the Dunkin' booth, DJ, and much more. So I would highly encourage everyone to attend that. I think it's going to be a grand time, and we are very, very proud of our new building. Some of the highlights, if you have not been over there, some of the highlights, we have an updated front entrance, a new front desk area. The gym floor is not new, but it looks brand new. The new carpet, new HVAC, new floor tiles, doors and windows, larger restrooms, and lots of additional office space. We are in heaven. Thank you so much for letting us do that. I know it started here and went through the commission and council, and it was something that was really needed, and I think the community will really enjoy it. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
The building was built in 1968, and it looks almost brand new. It really does. It looks good. We had a great contract.
I did leave a pamphlet for everyone, so please take that with you and do your best to attend.
Gary, that facility's a real asset to that community. I know it, and I encourage everybody to go out and do the walkthrough and enjoy the hot dogs and DJs and I'm going to go ahead, since Madeline nominated me earlier, I'm going to go ahead and nominate her for the Duncan tank. And
You got your stand?
Madeline, are you seconding that motion? But that's right. I can't make a motion. Never mind. But but thank you so much. And if there are no questions, we'll move on to the next item. And the next item is upcoming events. And I believe Becky Johnson will be telling us about maybe some fireworks or something in our future.
There may be. All right. We have Movies Under the Stars. We are halfway through that program. We are in week 5. That is on the screen now. We encourage everybody to come on out if you haven't been to any of our Movies Under the Stars. Maybe Thursday evening. I hear the temperature is going to be a little bit cooler, humidity lower. We have it Monday nights at Cason Lane Trailhead, Tuesdays at Cannonsburg Village, Thursdays at Richard Siegel Neighborhood Park, not on the soccer fields, Friday, Mitchell Nielsen Primary, and Saturday, Hobgood Elementary. So we have 4 more weeks left of movies, and they begin at 8:30 as soon as it gets dark, and there are concessions available, but you can bring your own snacks from home. You can bring a blanket, lawn chairs. I do encourage you, it starts at 8:30, but maybe get there about 8 o'clock because it's become very popular this summer. So the prime viewing sites fill up really fast. Then we also have going on our 3rd Friday night concert series, which is at Cannonsburg Village. The next one, which is July 18th, we will have Emily Burke. It's free to attend. It's from 7 to 9, the 3rd Friday of every month at Cannonsburg Village. We also are midway through our splash outs, which the next 2 is Thursday, July 10th and Thursday, July 24th. The July 10th is at Barfield Crescent Park. The July 4th one is at Old Fort Park, and that is from 1:30 to 3. Everyone's encouraged to come and attend. It is free, and that's where the Murfreesboro Fire and Rescue Department comes out, and they spray water up in the air and just get the parking lot soaked. The kids have a great time. So I encourage people, if they have not been to Splash Out, to come check it out. And then July 4th, and I'm knocking on wood as I say this, 85 is the high temperature, no precipitation expected. It's going to be a beautiful day. So if you want to come on out at 10 a.m., you can join us for the Rock the Pool Party at Sportscom from 10 to 4:30. From 5 to 8, we will have family games and activities, which is free to attend. Then at about 7:50 at the main stage there at McKnight Park, we will have some welcomes and introductions. The Murfreesboro Fire and Rescue Department will have their color guard, which will present colors. Then we'll have the national anthem, in which the Murfreesboro Symphony will play. And at 9 p.m., we will have our fireworks show. This is all at McKnight Park on Friday, July 4th. We encourage everybody to come out and have a very fun, safe, and festive environment. Then our 37th annual Uncle Dave Macon Days. That is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, July 11th, 12th, and 13th at Cannonsburg Village. And this is they consider it America's premier summer festivals. We'll have family-oriented events with music, dancing, those children activities, concessions, crafts, trade demonstrations, just a whole lot of stuff going on for those 3 days at the Uncle Dave Macon Days Festival, which is at Cannonsburg Village. July is National Park and Recreation Month, and we encourage everyone to come on out and get involved in your parks for the month of July. We encourage you to be out 12 months out of the year, but we really want to celebrate it in July. And on Wednesday, July 9th, we will have a Flick and Float at Sportscom at Borough Beach. We will have a movie. It's free to attend. You can float in the pool and watch a movie on Wednesday, July 9th. That starts at 8:30. And then Friday, July 25th, from 7 to 8, we will have a fun run out at Gateway Island. And these are just some activities we added for Parks and Recreation Month. Then moving on to August, it's very early in August, so I wanted to mention it. On Tuesday, August 5th, we will have National Night Out. And this is put on in conjunction with the Murfreesboro Police Department and the Parks and Rec Department, and it is free to attend, and some of our locations will be Rogers Park, Franklin Heights, Sportscom, which will have the pool open, Patterson Park, Oaklands Court, and Rolling Acres at Spring Valley, and that is Tuesday, August 5th, and it begins at 5 p.m. And for more information on any of our programs, you can contact our office at 890-5333, our website at murfreesborotn.gov/parks. We have our Rec Connection program guide available at all our sites or on our web, and we also have several Facebook pages. We have a Parks and Rec main page, but we also have athletics, outdoor, Greenway, Cannonsburg Village, Patterson Park, and Sportscom. And I may be missing one as well, but check us out on Facebook as well for updates on all of our events and programs. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Becky. It's great to see that so much going on in Murfreesboro, and definitely July is National Parks and Recreation Month, and there's no doubt it's in effect in Murfreesboro. Does anybody got any questions?
Mr. Chair, before we adjourn, we do have a new member of the Parks and Recreation Commission, Mr. Stephen Shirley. We definitely want to welcome him and glad to have you on the commission. We feel like you'll add a great deal to this commission. And if you'd like to tell us about yourself or
Well, if
anything.
anybody couldn't tell, I'm highly involved with the soccer club, Murfreesboro Soccer Club, and the Murfreesboro Soccer Referee Association. So obviously Siegel Park is near and dear to my heart, as is McKnight Park. Grew up in Murfreesboro, participated in several of the sports leagues with baseball, with I remember Kiwanis, Optimist, Little League, whatever. I played baseball at Old Fort Park, at the now taken away Oaklands Park, and I'm trying to think where the McKnight Park wasn't. It was built after I was done with baseball. But my children are highly involved with the Sunshine Players, and we got to participate and go visit with Terry Womack, who retired after many, many years, and such a blessing to our family as Parks and Recreation. And so we, when was given the opportunity to serve on this commission, was absolutely excited to join. So thank you.
Stephen, we're absolutely delighted to have you on the council and look forward to many years of your service on the council, and welcome aboard. The fireworks begin Friday night. Don't forget the 4th. It'll be a great day out at Sportscom. The weather prediction is wonderful, and we hope that holds out for us. Uncle Dave making days, don't forget that. I think Dr. Gilbert and I have been working on our clogging, and we'll be ready to go.
Absolutely.
And so it's a great day to get involved with Parks and Recreation in July. And thank you all, not council members, your committee members and commission members. And certainly thank you all for your participation today. Thank you for nominating me, Madeline.
My pleasure.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We're adjourned. Thank you.